What is up everyone, this is Somnath Gowder from Future Coders. Today we are going to be building this movie seat booking project. So let's see what actually are we gonna be building. As you can see, it says pick a movie. So if I select Avengers Endgame, the ticket price is $10. As you can see, we will also be building this showcase which shows which seats are occupied, which we have selected and which are unselected. So if I select a seat over here, as you can see, some of the seats are already occupied, that means we cannot select those. Now if I select the seat which is unoccupied, as you can see it turns to the selected color and it updates number of seats we select and the price. Now if I select one more seat over here, as you can see, the price gets updated. Now if I change the movie here, if I select for the Joker here, which is having the ticket price of $12, now if I select that, as you can see, the price also gets updated. Similarly, if I select Toy Story 4, the ticket price is $8. As you can see, the price gets updated. One more thing which we will be adding in this project is local storage. For example, if I refresh this page over here, as you can see, I am refreshing, all the data remains same. That means we will be using local storage to store these all data. So even if we refresh, it still is going to be stored in the browser's local storage. So let's get started. Before we start building this, please make sure you subscribe to our channel for more videos like this and more projects like this. And also don't forget to leave a like on this video. And also previously we have built a JavaScript project, a Vanilla JavaScript project, where we build the form validator. If you haven't watched that video, please make sure you watch that video also. So let's get started. Now let's open up our Visual Studio Code. I have already created a folder for this project, so I will be just importing that folder. Inside of the project folder, we are going to have an index.html as usual. Sorry, it should I need to rename it again. It should be index.html. And one more file is going to be style.css. And finally, of course, a script.js file. Now let's generate, inside of the index.html, let's generate some boilerplate by saying exclamatory and pressing enter. Here I will give the title as movie seat booking. Okay, now I'm gonna open this up in the browser by right clicking on here and open with live server. If you don't know what live server is, it is an extension which can be installed in the Visual Studio Code by going to the extension marketplace and searching for live server. Make sure you install that live server, which is going to help us a lot. You can also right click on this index.html and open with live server, and here right click on here and open with live server. Both are same. So inside of our index.html, let's import our style.css. And also import our script file, that is our JavaScript file, which is having source as script.js. Okay, now inside of this body, let's start building the basic structure of our project. We are going to have a division with the class name of movie container. Inside of this movie container, we are going to have a select option, right, where we can select movies. So here let's just define the label. We are not going to say any for. It's going to say pick a movie. As you can see, pick a movie. And below that, we need to actually define the select. It's not going to have any name, so it's going to have an ID of movie. And here it's going to have options. The first option, the value is going to be 10. and it's going to say the movie name. You can have any movie names you want, but here I'm going to say Avengers Endgame, and also mention the ticket price over here. And similarly, we are going to have 3 more movies. Of course, the price are going to be changing. 12, it's going to say 8, it's going to say 9. Let's also change the movie names here. Let's just say Joker, which is having the ticket of $12. Let's also change over here. It should say Toy Story, which is having $8. And finally, The Lion King, which is going to have a price of $9. If I save that, as you can see, there we have our select. And below that, let's also below this division, we are going to define an unordered list, which is going to have a class name of showcase. It's going to show which going to say which is actually like a legend, which is going to show which movies which seats are occupied, which are selected, like that, as I demonstrated in the beginning. So this is going to have a list. Inside of the list, we are going to have a div with a class name seat. The first one, we are going to leave it like that. We are going to style this seat inside of the CSS, and it's going to have a small tag which is going to say not selected or NA. We can leave it like that. And we are going to have another list item. It's going to be saying selected. Okay, we are going to have another one which is going to showcase occupied. Okay, and similarly, we are also going to have some class names over here. For the selected, we are going to have a class name for selected, and also similarly, we are going to have another class name for the seat, which is going to say occupied. Now, after this unordered list, there we have our unordered list. After that unordered list, we are going to say a container. Inside of the container, we are going to have a screen, a movie theater screen. So we are going to define that. We are going to style this inside of our CSS. For now, let's define those seats, right? So we are going to say a row. Inside of the row, we are going to have the seats. Each row is going to have 8 seats. So let's define those. Div with the class name of seat. Okay, we are going to have 7 more of these. So let's paste 1. These are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, these are 8. Similarly, we are going to have 6 rows. So I'm just going to copy paste these 5 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Of course, if I save those, you are not going to see anything over here. That's because we are going to make the seats in the styles.css. So, and some of the seats are going to have some occupied class. So as you see in the beginning that some of the seats were actually occupied, right? So let's assign an occupied class to some of these. So here it's going to have an occupied class over here. Let's also define over here. Similarly, let's also say over here, and also I'm gonna define these randomly. Let's say over here. Let's also say over here 3 seats. Over here. Okay. Now after these rows or seats, we are going to have a paragraph tag with the class name of text. which is going to say you have selected, which is going to have a span tag with the ID of count, which is going to keep track of the amount of seats we selected. So initially it's going to be 0, and after this, seats for a price of, we're going to define a dollar symbol over here and another span tag with an ID of total. Of course, okay, now if I say like that, total, okay, let's remove this space over here, and it's also going to be begin with 0. The price is going to be 0 initially, $0. Now if I save that, as you can see, you have selected 0 seats for a price of $0. Now let's actually style this. It's time to add some styles to it. Now inside of our style.css, we are going to be using a custom font, which I will be importing that like this. You can import it like this, or you can just copy this, import tag, or you can just use the default font of the browser. We will be using the letter font family. So for the styles, let's select everything. I'm going to say box sizing to border box. Now I'm going to style the body. I'm going to select the body. Let's set the background color to 24233. Okay. Now let's also set display of flags, which is going to make them appear in a row. As you can see, I don't want that. I'm going to set the flags direction as column. Okay. Now for the color, let's set the color to white. Okay. Now align items to the center, which is going to align them center, and justify content center, both horizontally and vertically. Okay, we'll justify content center, and we need to actually set the height so that we can center them horizontally and vertically. Height 200 v1, as you can see, it just centered both horizontally and vertically. And let's also set the font family which we imported. I'm going to say Lato or else sans serif. If I save that, as you can see, okay. Now let's target this. Let's target the seat actually. Let's define those seat. For the seat, the background color is going to be this hash color 44451. Okay, if I save that, okay, it's not appearing now. That's because it doesn't have any height or width. So let's define the height. It's going to be 12 pixels, and the width is going to be 15 pixels. Now if I save that, as you can see, they are appearing over here, but they are not looking nice actually. So let's define some margin 3 pixels. Okay, let's set border top left radius of the 10 pixels, and let's also set border top right radius to 10 pixels. Okay, that's how we made them look like a seat. Okay, now let's target the row which is containing, as you can see, all of these seats, right? So we need to target this row. Let's target that and set display of flags. As you can see, everything is appearing in a row. Each of those seats we created are actually aligning in a row. So now it's time to select the movie container, this one movie container, which is containing all of these select options. So let's style that movie container. For the movie container, I'm going to give a margin 20 pixels to the top and bottom and 0 to left and right. Okay. Now I'm going to say movie container. Remember, we gave a select class, right? So if the movie container is having a class name of select, not select, we are actually selecting this. Sorry for that. We will be styling the selected class. So before that, we need to style the select over here. So which is inside of this movie container. I just misunderstood or got confused. So let's target the select. I'm going to set the background color to F, this white color, and let's set the border to 0. Border radius is going to be 5 pixels. Okay. Let's set the font size to 14 pixels. Let's set the margin to the left 10 pixels and padding 5 pixels, 15 pixels, 5 pixels, 15 pixels. Okay, that's looking nice. Now let's also make sure that this select option actually appears exactly the same in all of the browsers. So I'm going to say mouse appearance is going to be none, and we need to set WebKit appearance also to none, and we also need to set appearance to none. Now if I save that, as you can see, we just have a beautiful looking select options. Now we need to actually style the selected class. Remember, we gave this seat a selected class and an occupied class, right? So we need to actually define those. Let's style those. When the seat is having a class name of selected, I need to have the background color of 6F EAF6. That's going to be the blue color. As you can see, this is having the class name of selected, so it's having a class name of selected, so it's having this blue color. Similarly, for the seat which is having the class name of occupied, we need to set the background color to white. Now if I save that, as you can see, wherever the seat is having the occupied class, all are turning to white. As you can see, some of occupied class we have given to these seats over here. As you can see, they are all turning to white, meaning they are all occupied. That's what it is showing in this showcase, right? So next up, we need to select. Let's make this a little bit nice, right? So all of these are stacked together, which is not looking nice. So here I'm going to say seat. I'm going to select the nth of type, which is inside in the second index. I'm going to select that and set the margin to the right 18 pixels. Now let's observe what actually is going to happen. As you can see, we selected the nth of type, which is at the index at the 2, and added margin to the right 18 pixels. Okay, similarly, we need to select the nth of last of type, so that we can define some margin to the left over here. So here I'm just going to copy this, and nth last of type, which is at the 2th index, and save that. As you can see, that's how we targeted that. So but we need to actually add margin to the left. That's right. So it is looking nice now. Okay, now the next what we want to do is, whenever if the seat is not having the class name of occupied, and inside whenever the seat is not having the class name of occupied on the hover state, we don't want to apply the hover state to the occupied class, which is the seat which are having occupied class. We don't want to add the hover functionality to them. So here I'm going to say cursor to pointer and transform scale 1.2. Now as you can see, if I hover on the seat which is not having the class name of occupied, as you can see, now if I hover on the seat which is having the class name of occupied, as you can see, nothing actually happens, right? Okay. Similarly, we need to target the showcase, that is this. We want actually to happen same with this also, right? So here I'm going to say showcase. We are going to specifically target those seats which are inside of the showcase. I'm going to say seat which are not having the class name of occupied. On the hover state, I'm going to say cursor to default and transform 1. We need to actually specify in the scale 1. Okay, as you can see, that's how we can add this inside for the showcase. So here let's actually style the showcase a little bit. We don't want to display these dots, right? So unordered list dots, so let's style those. Before that I said that we define these styles to make them appear like the same. That's wrong actually. We need to actually we do not want to change the cursor to pointer, and we don't want to scale, right? So we define this class when the seats are which are inside of this showcase and not having the class name of occupied. On the hover state, the cursor should be default, meaning it should not change and it should not scale. That was the objective of this style. So let's move further. For the showcase, I'm going to set the background color to RGBA 0, 0, 0, and alpha value is going to be 0.1. Okay, there we have the light color. And let's set the padding to 5 pixels, 10 pixels. Okay, now let's set the border radius to 5 pixels, and let's set the color to 777, a little bit grayish, and list style type to none to remove those dots, and let's set the display of flex to so that they will appear in the row, and let's give justify content space between. That's great. Now we need to target the list items, so which are inside of the showcase, and for those I'm going to say display of flex and align items to the center and justify content to the center, and we need to give a margin 0 to top and bottom and 10 pixels to the left and right. That's looking nice. Now let's target those small tags which are inside the list, these list items over here. Now for those, let's define the showcase which are inside of the list items and small. Let's set the margin to the left 10 pixels. Okay, that's looking nice actually. Now for the screen, remember the screen which we want to make it look like an LCD screen actually. So for that, let's say screen background color is going to be white, height is going to be 70 pixels, 70 pixels, width is going to be actually 100%, and margin is going to be 15 pixels to the top and bottom and 0 to the left and right. Now if I save that, as you can see, there we have our screen. Now let's set the transform to rotate X. Rotate X, and inside of that I'm gonna say minus 45 degrees. Okay, now let's add some box shadow. 0, 3 pixels, 10 pixels, and an RGB value of 255, 255, and again 255, and the alpha value is going to be 0.75. Okay, there we have our border. Now for the container, which is containing all these movie items, so here I'm gonna say container. Let's set the perspective to, if I set it to some high value, as you can see, the perspective actually making the items look like 3D, right? So this screen is actually appearing it like a 3D, right? So let's also set the margin bottom to 30 pixels. Okay, now let's target this p tag which we have here, which is having the class name of text. Let's set the margin to 5 pixels and 0. Let's target those span tags which are inside of the p tag, and for them I'm gonna say set the color to this bluish color. That's going to be 6 FEAF6. As you can see, now we have completed the front end part of this project. So all we have to do is add some JavaScript to make it work. So let's do that. Now inside of our JavaScript, let's select everything that we need. Here I'm gonna grab the container. We're gonna need that this container. Let's grab that. It's having the class name of container. Here I will say const container is equals to, I'm gonna get it by saying document dot query selector, and I will grab it by using the class name that we specified. That's going to be container, and let's also grab the seats. Those are this one. You can see there are a bunch of those seats, so we need to grab those also. I'm gonna say here const seats document dot, since there are multiple seats, we need to actually say query selector all to select them all, and here I will say select the seat. That should be wrapped in the single or double quotes. Okay, and one more thing we need to keep in mind is that we only want to select the seats which are unoccupied, right? We don't want to select the seats which are occupied. So same case with here also, we don't want to select these seats. We only want the seats from the which are having the class name inside the inside the row, and we also don't want these occupied seats. So here I'm gonna say not occupied. That's how we get the seats which are unoccupied. Okay, that's correct. Now let's also select the count. That's going to be this one, this count, by saying const count document dot get element by id, it's having the id of count, so we are having that. Now let's also select the total, that's going to be this one, by saying count total document dot get element by id, and by saying the id is going to be total, which we specified in the HTML. That should be const here, that's my bad. Okay, now we also need the select options, so let's also select those. We're gonna say const movie select. Instead of the variable, I'm gonna get document dot get element by id, and it is having an id of movie. As you can see, where we have the select, as you can see, it's having the id, that's what we are selecting. Now let's also get the ticket price, that's going to be over here. It is having the value, right, the ticket price, which we already specified here, value. This is the ticket price, so let's also grab that. I'm gonna select ticket price is going to be movie select dot value. Sorry, that should be value. Okay, now if I console log the ticket price, now if I check the console over here, as you can see, there we get the ticket price. Now if I change that, of course it's not going to be changing. That's because we are not adding any event listeners yet. We will add, so it's going to be 10. Now one more thing we should do here is, if I check the type of this ticket price, as you can see, it's stored as a string. We don't want that, right? We want it to be stored as a number. So the one simple thing we can do over here is, let's add a plus sign so that it automatically converts the string to number. Now if I save that and check the type of ticket price, as you can see, it's a number. Now we can work on that. Now let's just remove this console log. Now it's time to add some event listeners. Now I'm gonna add an event listener to this container. So I'm gonna say here container dot add event listener. I'm gonna listen for the click on the container, and we're gonna run this function, and it's going to be an error function, and it's going to take an event. It's going to be an error function. Instead of then this function, let's just console log first. I'm gonna console log e dot target. So if I click anywhere on the container, as you can see, inside of the container, where we have the container, we have a screen, and these all of those seeds, right? So now if I click on any of the container elements, so as you can see, if I click on that, as you can see, we get the screen, that is this target, we get the actual element. Now if I click on this seat over here, as you can see, there we have our seat. And also if I click on this occupied seat, and there we also get the seat that is occupied. And if I click somewhere in the empty area, as you can see, there we get the container, actual container. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna add an an if statement to check if we are selecting this seat or not. So here let's say that if e.target is having a class actually, which if it contains the class name of seat, then we want to add this, then we want to say that add a class name e.target. Let's just console log first, so later we are gonna do that. Let's just console log e.target to see what actually we are getting. Now if I click on this screen, nothing happens. If I click on this empty area, nothing happens. Now if I click on this seat, as you can see, we get the seat. One problem is that if I click on this occupied seats also, we are getting that occupied seats, so we don't want that, right? So I'm gonna add one more check inside of the if statement. I'm gonna say an and it not target dot class list, it should not contain this occupied seat, this occupied class. Now if I save that, so basically what we are saying is we want to select the seats which are having the class name of seat, but it does not contain the class name of occupied. So now if I click somewhere over, nothing happens. If I click on this seat which is unoccupied, as you can see we get our seat, but if I click on this occupied seat, nothing happens. That means we are actually getting our seat. Everything is correct now. Now I want to say that I want to add a class so that it actually turns to blue. Remember, we need to add the selected class. So here I'm going to say e.target.classList. Simply I'm going to toggle the class so that whenever I click on that, it should turn to blue. Whenever I click on that again, it should turn to normal seat. So I'm going to just toggle this selected class. Now if I save that, now if I click on seat, as you can see the seat just turns to blue. Now I can select as many selects I want, and I can also re-click so that it just unselects the seats. As you can see it's working. And also now I should work on updating this count. Actually it should update how many number of seats we selected, how much is the ticket price. So let's work on that. Here I'm going to define a separate function to update the selected seats and the price. So I'm going to just call the function here. And I will define that function. Here I will say update selected count, and let's just create that function. Here I will add a comment saying update total and the count. So for the function, here I'm going to say function update selected count, and that function is going to have a variable of selected seats, so that we actually have how many number of seats we actually selected. So here I'm going to grab the document dot query selector all. I'm going to grab the seats which are inside of the row, and the seats which are having the class name also selected. That's how we grab the seats which are selected. Now if I console log the selected seats over here, now if I select some seats, as you can see we are getting a node list. It's surprisingly it's having a node list the empty, that's empty. So I might be making some mistake. Yeah, it should be selected SE. Okay, I misspelled that. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, now if I click select any of the seats, as you can see we are getting a node list of the selected seats. As you can see we are getting an array. Actually the length is going to be 4. So here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna define another variable. Here I'm gonna say selected seats count, and here I'm gonna grab the length of that array. That's going to be selected seats dot length. Now I'm actually having how many number of seats we have actually selected. So if I console log selected seats count, now if I select some seats, as you can see I have selected 1 seat, 2, 3, 4, and if I unselect, as you can see 3, 2, 1, and so on. Now it's time to update this count value and this ticket price. So here I will say count dot inner text is going to be that selected seats count, and the total in the text is going to be selected seats count multiplied by the ticket price. That's going to be the $10 into how many number of seats we selected. Now if I save that and test it, as you can see, the seat gets updated and also the price is updating. Now if I select one more seat, as you can see, 2 seats with $20. Let's do one more. As you can see, I have selected 3 seats for a price of $30. Now I also want to make sure that if I select another movie over here, that should update this ticket price. As you can see, the ticket price is $12, but it is showing $30. So let's work on that. So I'm gonna add another event listener for this movie select. So let's do that. Let's add a comment movie select event. Here let's add the event listener on the movie select by saying movie select.add event listener, and it's gonna fire off a change event whenever we change something from the list. So it's gonna fire off the change event, and it's gonna take an event which is it's going to be an arrow function. Inside of the function, I need to get the ticket price, which we can get by saying e.target.value. Right now, I also want to make sure that it is a integer by adding a plus symbol, and here I just want to call the update selected count again. Now if I save that, now if I test the application, as you can see, we have selected 2 seats with the $20, and if I change the movie, as you can see, the price gets updated. Now also if I change this to Toy Story 4, the ticket price is $8, it should be 16. As you can see, it just works. I can also select multiple seats over here, and I can change the movie. Let's just say Lion King, which is having the ticket price of 9. As you can see, the price gets updated. Now we have a fully working application, but only thing I want to add here is local storage, so that whenever I select some seats and refresh, as you can see, it just goes away, right? So I don't want that. Let's implement local storage so that even if I refresh, the data which we select actually gets stored in the browser, so that it doesn't go away whenever I refresh. So let's work on that. First thing I need to do here is actually grab the indexes of the seats which we are selecting. I can do that by saying, let's declare one more variable here by saying const seats index. As you can see, as I already shown you in the beginning, that the selected seats is actually an array, right? So I'm just gonna grab or copy everything from the selected seats by using the spread operator, selected seats, and I'm gonna perform map operation on this array. Map method actually takes a function, and it's gonna have an individual seat. Here I'm gonna return. Let's return. First I'm gonna grab all the seats and perform index of the current seat which we are actually looping. By that I can grab the actual index of the selected seats. Now if I log seats index, as you can see, now if I open my console and select some seats over here, as you can see, it is showing that I have selected the seat which is at the index 0. As you can see, I have selected the seat which is at the index 1. As you can see, that's how we can grab the seats index. Now actually let's work on storing these data inside of the local storage of the browser. I can do that by saying local storage dot set item. It's gonna take in 2 things. One is going to be it's actually a key value pair, so here the key is going to be selected seats, and let's pass the seats index which we want to store. Remember, the seats index is actually an array, right? So I need to wrap this around the json.stringify. Let's wrap that. Okay, now if I save that and select some seats, let's say 0th index and 1st index, and if I go to the application and if I check the local storage over here, as you can see, we are actually storing the seats index which we are selected. Now I can also select multiple seats. As you can see, the values are being stored in the local storage of the browser. Now if I refresh that, of course they don't stay here. That's because we haven't worked on retrieving the data from the local storage. But as you can see, the local storage, the seats index actually are being stored on the browsers. Okay, now let's work on storing the movie which we are actually selecting. Let's work on that. Now it's gonna happen inside of this movie select event listener. I can grab the movie which the index of movie which is selected by saying, let's just console log e dot target dot selected index. Now if I save that and check my console, and if I select some movie over here, as you can see, we are getting 1. That means this Joker is present at the index 1. Now if I select Avengers Endgame, I get 0. That's present at the index 0, right? Now I also want to get the price, that is this ticket price, to make sure that I also store that in the browser storage. So let's also target console log. I can grab that value by saying e dot target dot value. Now if I change some movie over here, as you can see, I'm getting the index where the movie is present at, and also the price which is inside of the string. Actually we will work on that. So let's I'm gonna wrap this. I'm gonna define one more function over here by saying set movie data. It's gonna take in this index and the value. Now let's save that and let's head over to at the top. At the top I'm gonna say let's just say over here, I'm just gonna add comment save selected movie index and the price, and let's define the function. The function is going to be function set movie data. It's gonna take in the movie index and movie price. Inside of the function, I'm gonna set inside of the local storage dot set item, the key is going to be selected movie index and the value is going to be this movie index. And one more thing, local storage dot set item, the key is going to be selected movie price and the value is going to be movie price. Now if I save that and select some seats over here and also change some the movie. Now if I head over to my local storage, as you can see, we are actually storing the index values of those seats and also the selected movie index. As you can see, I have selected the 1th index, that it is present at the 1th index, and also I am storing the ticket price. As you can see, Joker is having the ticket price of 12, right? So now let's work on let's work on when I refresh so that it actually gets the data from this local storage and populates this UI. So let's work on that. For that, I'm gonna declare one more function that's going to be called that's going to be called at the top. That's going to be populate UI. It's going to be called over here, and let's declare that function over here. Function populate UI, and for the function I'm gonna add some comment, get data from local storage and populate the UI. Now inside of the function here, I'm gonna first grab the selected seats. That's going to be this one. So let's grab those const selected seats. We can grab that by from the local storage by saying local storage dot get item, by saying by specifying this key value. Here I will say selected seats. Now remember, we actually converted, it was an array, right? So we actually converted to json.stringify, so we need to convert it back to the array. So here I can do that by saying json.parse. let's wrap this inside of the json.parse so that it gets converted back to the array. Now if I console log the selected seats and let's check my console, as you can see, there we have our selected seats index from the local storage. And here I need to check if selected seats is does not equals to null, and we also need to check if the selected seats dot length is greater than 0. That means if it is present at the local storage, I need to loop through all the seats. Remember, the seats are actually these all seats, and here I will by saying for each, let's we are gonna say here seat, and we also going to have access to the index of each of those seats, and it's going to be an arrow function. Inside here I'm gonna check one more condition. If selected seat dot index of index, that's going to be this index, actually this index, if that is greater than -1, that means if it is present at the if it is present at the seats which is having this index which we have selected. So the reason why we are specifying -1 here is the index of, if it doesn't find the value which is not present at this index, so it's going to return -1. So here I will just say seat, if it is present at that index, I will say seat.classList, and I'm going to add the class name of selected. Now if I save that, as you can see, it actually gets data from the local storage and it populated the selected seats which we selected previously. Now I can also select multiple seats and refresh. As you can see, the selected seats actually get stored in the local storage and gets retrieved. So that's how it works. Now we also need to work on this so that we actually store the movie data here. Right after this if condition, I'm gonna say const, I'm gonna say selected movie index. We need to grab that index which movie is selected from the local storage by saying local storage dot get item, by specifying the key value selected movie index. Now I need to check for condition here. If selected movie index does not equals to null, if it is there, meaning I want to say movie select dot selected index, and I'm just gonna say set to selected movie, that's going to be selected movie index. As you can see, we selected the Joker, it actually got stored in the local storage and we retrieved it by using the selected movie index. Now if I select Toy Story 4 and select some more seats, and refresh, this is correct. I have selected 7 seats, and if I refresh, as you can see, the seats are actually stored, and this movie is also stored, but these are actually not being updated. So in order to update that, it's happening inside this update selected count, right? So I'm just gonna call this function on the page load. Whenever this page load, I'm just gonna call this function. Now if I save that, as you can see, everything is working. If I select Avengers Endgame, the price gets updated. I can select more seats and refresh. The seats are going to be remain same. That's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed building this movie seat booking application. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and also don't forget to leave a like on this video. If you want to build more projects like this, you should make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Don't forget that. So I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.